Good morning, Yata. My name is Benita Mckerry. I am an advocate with the Native American Disability Law Center here in Farmington, New Mexico, and I don't see my PowerPoint slide. Um,
Yeah,
but
give me one sec. I'll put it up in
okay,
a sec. I'm having a
okay.
slight tech issue.
No worries. So just a brief introduction of who I am. I am Kelechi Ninshla. Do ki ani e pashishin bit ani dashichedo ashin dashanala. And in translation of that in English is that I am of the Towering House or Red House clan, my first clan. My second clan is Towering House. And my third clan, which represents my maternal side, is the Folding Arm people, Bitani. And my maternal on my father's side is Ashihi. That's the Salt clan. So I will be co-presenting with my colleague Rose Gardner-Nez, and I'll have her introduce herself. And we have to like share the spotlight here, and I'll have her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rose Gardenez. I'm the administrative assistant here at the Native American Disability Law Center in Farmington. Um, yeah, I'll be helping Benita with her presentation and doing a short presentation on half of what I had an experience with. So yeah.
Thank you, Rose. So just to give you an overview of the Native American Disability Law Center, we are a nonprofit organization that provides protection and advocacy for Native Americans with disabilities in the Four Corners region. The Law Center can help if someone with a disability is being treated unfairly at school, work, in housing, or when trying to get services. We also teach youth and families about their rights and how to speak up for themselves so they can live more independently and take part in their community. Next slide. So our presentation today is going to be about how to access transition and vocational rehabilitation services. And this is going to be for Native American youth with disabilities so they can build their skills, reach their education and career goals, and successfully transition into independent adulthood. Next slide. So why does planning matter? High school is only temporary, but adult life, once you turn 18, is where the planning should start. What do you want to do after high school? That's the big question. Planning early gives students more practice, more options, and a better shot at success after graduation. Some ways you can do this is by building your skills, by knowing your strengths, interests, and taking realistic steps towards your goals. Developing your skills can lead to better job opportunities, training, and independent living. Planning now helps you have a smoother and more successful transition into adulthood. And basically, planning kind of takes place already when you're trying to decide on every day what clothes do I wear? What shoes matches my pants or my hoodie? So those are some of the planning stage that you'll need to consider beyond that as like, okay, what will be the next steps into who I want to become and who I want to be in my community. Next slide. So this can be brought into play when you receive services called transition services in high school. Transition services help students with disabilities prepare for life after high school. These services can include individual education program, transition planning, job shadowing, skill building, and connection to vocational rehabilitation. The Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, DVR, helps students with disabilities prepare for life after high school. DVR works with schools and other groups to offer transition services. They can also help youth who are not in school as long as they apply and are found eligible for VR services. Youth can get transition services between the ages of 14 and 22. In Arizona, they can start as early as 14, and in New Mexico, it's 16. Examples of transition services or activities include IEP transition planning. A student works with the IEP team to set a goal of working in childcare, for example, after graduation. Then she or he can identify which classes can I take? What community experiences do I need? What support services can help me build that path? Job shadowing. A student spends half of the day, for example, as a dental assistant, watches the task of what the dental assistant is doing, and asks questions about the job. Skill building. A student practices filling out job applications, learning how to greet an employer, or using public transportation as an example. But out in the rural area of most of our tribal communities, it might just be, requesting for help. Who can mom and dad drive me, or who can I ask to, take me to and from work? Connection to VR. A school counselor or transition specialist refers the student to VR. Or during your IEP planning, you can invite a VR counselor so they can help with career exploration, job readiness, or employment support. Other common examples include leading an IEP meeting. You know your own strengths. You decide what classes you're feeling comfortable in. How can you plan and guide the rest of the IEP team to get to point A and B for life after high school? They can teach you how to practice interview skills, learn workplace communication, and visiting a job site. These activities can help a student build confidence, skills, and connections that support the move from school to adult life. Next slide. Pre-employment services. Some of this is usually offered in some schools and some don't, but it's always good to ask, does the school provide pre-ETs? So pre-ETs are coordinated activities that help students with disabilities prepare for life after high school. They support but do not replace transition planning in the IEP or high school and beyond plan. Pre-ETs are individualized and focus on the student's strengths, interests, and goals. They include 5 key service areas: job exploration, work-based learning, post-secondary education counseling, work readiness, and self-advocacy. Job exploration counseling. This helps students learn about different jobs and careers. An example, a student explores jobs in healthcare, construction, or tribal government. Work-based learning gives students hands-on experience in real or simulated work settings. So on Navajo, we have the Summer Youth Employment Program where students get to work in different settings and be able to learn how to fill out a job application, do an interview. So if you can have an opportunity this summer, explore that. It's called SYEP. So post-secondary education counseling. This helps students plan for college, trade school, or other training after high school. Example, a student meets with a counselor to compare community college or vocational training options. Do I want to go to school right after high school, or do I want to work? And work is usually something that is not accessible out in the rural communities. And you see a lot of our kids moving to Phoenix, Albuquerque, or the bigger cities where jobs are more accessible. Workplace readiness. These teaches skills needed to succeed at work. Example, practice with punctuality, dressing appropriately for the work that you do. You're not, for example, if you're working in construction, you're not going to be wearing your flip-flops to work. And communicating with your supervisor. Again, just make them know of what your disability may be, and let them know, I'm going to be late because, an example, lack of transportation, or, can you work with my family for me to be able to work? And that's a part of self-advocacy. You are in a position to tell your supervisor, okay, these are the directions I need. Can you make it clear and simple? Can you write it down for me? I need a break between 8 and 10 because that's when I need to take my medication, for example. So that can be also a part of your IEP planning when you start sitting, with the rest of the IE team and planning out your future. Next slide. So right after high school, unfortunately, your IEP does not follow you through post-secondary or your employment. So knowing your right is what types of accommodations to request for if you plan on taking post-secondary education, for example, and you go to college. You're going to ask, can I request extra time? I need extra time to do my testing. Can you enlarge the print because I cannot read the 12 size fonts? I need to have extra homework for me to be able to understand, or can you simplify my work for me? So those are the types of accommodations that you can request for. And also rights to services assistive technology. I need a reader because I'm partially visually impaired, or I need a communication device so I can let you know what exactly I'm trying to communicate to you. And again, this is all part of self-advocacy. And if you consider employment, right to equal opportunity and job support, can you provide me with directions of what type, the job that needs to be done? And again, building on your strengths, what are you capable of doing to be able to maintain a job? Next slide. And a part of these services that are offered for students with disabilities is vocational rehabilitation. Vocational rehabilitation helps you build a path to employment based on your goals. VR services gives you the support and tools you need to succeed in work and adult life. And as mentioned, you can invite a VR counselor, somebody from Job Corps, somebody that you want to, or who you have job shadowed, come to your IEP meeting, and they can plan out, what can VR cover? And again, this is like stuff you love to do. What do you like to do? What do you envision yourself doing right after high school? And stuff you're good at, and stuff someone will pay you to do. Now that's the good outcome of it, is gaining employment. Next slide. So who qualifies for VR? VR eligibility is you have to have a disability, have a physical or mental impairment. Your physical or mental impairment causes substantial barriers to employment. You require VR services in order to prepare for, obtain, maintain, or advance in employment. You could benefit from VR services in terms of getting and keeping a job. So a comprehensive assessment will be conducted to identify the individual's strengths, needs, and goals. And this can be done by a VR counselor. Next slide. So how do you apply? The agency must make eligibility decision as soon as possible and generally within 60 days of a completed application unless there are exceptional circumstances. So first thing a student can do is contact your local DVR or tribal VR. Navajo and Hopi have a VR program. Apply, complete an application, and share disability and education information. Share documents of your medical, your social security, your identification card, or your school transcripts, and a copy of your individual education program. And the VR or the tribal VR will then determine your eligibility. Next slide. So VR services can provide career counseling. And again, you can invite a VR counselor to your IEP meeting to decide, okay, if I want to become a courtesy clerk, for example, at Bashes, what steps do I need to become a courtesy clerk? Do I need to go to school for that? Job training, special equipment or technology to address disability-related barriers, resume and interview help, job coaching to assist learning new tasks and achieving job stability. So these are the services that they can provide with OSHR's Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services with Navajo. They can provide traditional assistance. So if you need a ceremony, for example, that is one of their services that they can provide through OSHR's, just as an example. And again, self-advocacy. How can I obtain their services? If you don't ask, then you won't know what other services that are available to you. And you can also use DVR and tribal VR at the same time as well. So, and there are eligibility criterion within Navajo. You have to live within 20-mile radius of wherever you live, for example, a border town, and they should be able to provide you with assistance also. Next slide. And these are just some of the contacts that I've listed, and this is specifically for Arizona. So if you're looking for VR, where do I reach out to them? One of them is the Arizona Rehabilitation Services Administration, and the link to where you can go is on here. Also the Navajo Nation, also it's known as the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services, the Hopi VR, and their link is also identified on here. Next slide. So the Native American Disability Law Center also serves as a client assistance program. We can help you if VR denies services or you disagree with your plan. So basically, let's say your vocational rehabilitation counselor identifies you're more or less better good at this instead of what you want to be, and you disagree. And so you can come and contact us, the Law Center, if you're in within the Four Corners region, or you can reach out to the state CAP program and let them know, I disagree, this is not what I wanted to do. Can you be able to assist me? And the services is free and confidential. And we also serve we are a PABS, federally funded under PABS. And PABS is a protection and advocacy for beneficiaries with Social Security. So if you are a recipient of the Social Supplemental Security Income or the Social Security Disability Insurance, we are also able to help you. And when you turn 18, you decide, okay, you're going to report to Social Security Administration that you are now an adult. So there might be some changes. Do they continue where they decide that you continue to receive your benefits, or you can decide, okay, can I still work and still receive my benefits? So with PABS, you can still receive your SSI and be able to work. So Social Security Administration provides work incentives to protect benefits, and PABS can guide you. And some students may worry about losing their SSI. What's going to happen after I turn 18? And a student can also continue their education further between ages of 14 and 22. Next slide. And I wanted to introduce my colleague, Rose, and I'll have her share her personal story about how she utilized vocational rehabilitation services to obtain employment.
Hi again. My name is Rose Garnanez. I'm the administrative assistant at the Native American Disability Law Center in Farmington. So I'll be sharing again, like Benita said, my story and experience with VR services. To start off, I am Navajo and I was born here and raised in New Mexico. So I was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. And for those who aren't familiar, it is a condition caused by prenatal alcohol exposure that can result in physical behavior and learning challenges. Growing up with this disability made many parts of my life difficult. There were times in school when I struggled to keep up. I felt frustrated or doubted whether I would be able to reach my goals in life. Over time, my story changed. I did not just focus on my challenges. I learned how to speak up for myself and keep going. With help from the Navajo Nation Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services, also called OSERS, I got the support I needed, but I also learned how to speak for what I needed. When I was in school, I had an individualized education program, an IEP. This is a plan that helps students with disabilities. At first, I did not understand my disability, but during my IEP meetings, I started using my voice. I learned to say when I needed help. I asked questions when I was confused. I asked for things like extra time on tests and a quiet place to work if I needed. These may sound small, but they helped me a lot during school. So speaking up was a big step for me. Later, I learned about the vocational rehabilitation services through OSERS, which is VR. I applied for services and stayed involved in the process. I met with my counselor often, and we talked about my goals and my future. I worked with them to make decisions about school and work. High school was still challenging for me, but I did not give up. I asked for the support I needed, and I graduated on time. After that, I chose to go to Haskell Indian Nations University. Um, but being away from home was hard, but I kept using my skills. I asked for help, stayed in touch with my VR counselor, and kept myself on track. I earned my associate's degree in 2015 and my bachelor's degree in 2018. After college, I came back home and I continued to speak up for myself and use the support around me. In 2019, I started working at the Native American Disability Law Center, where I work today. My journey was not easy, but I learned something important. Self-advocacy is powerful. This means speaking up, asking for help, and believing your voice matters. If you are struggling in school or work, you're not alone. These There are programs like OSERS and vocational rehabilitation that can help. It is important to also trust yourself and speak up. Your voice matters and you can reach your goals. So that is my experience that I have shared with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. And next slide. And this is our contact information. If you live in the Four Corners region, we have an office in Farmington, New Mexico, and in Flagstaff. And so the law center covers all the whole area on the Navajo Nation, Hopi Nation, Southern Ute Tribe in Colorado, Ute Mountain Ute in Colorado also, and the Havasupai tribes and all any tribal members who will live within that vicinity. We also have our social media, a lot of our training videos, resources, are available on our website. Feel free to reach out to either of us if you need additional resources and information, and we're more than happy to provide any kind of training upon request. Yeah, again, thank you and have a wonderful Saturday.